Attention. Due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
Hey there, everybody. Happy holidays. This is the Civil Gore podcast, episode 39. I'm your host, Tim.
And I'm your host, Brian.
And Brian, we have a really cool treat tonight. So we actually got our first set of voicemail feedback.
Wow.
From listeners. So what I thought, I haven't even listened to them yet. What I thought I would do is play them live on the air, whether they're good or bad. We'll just go for it. Play them live, and then we'll use it as, if it's bad, we'll just use it as constructive criticism.
That works, yeah.
Okay. All right. So here we go.
I'm gonna lick it. Lick it.
I'm gonna lick your microphone, you dumbasses!
This show sucks. I'm gonna leave you bad ratings on iTunes.
Oh my god, what was that?
Yeah, that must have been some kind of prank. Let's just go on to the next one.
Mama!
Where's the baby? Where's the baby?
You don't know anything about horror films.
You should run a show for babies.
What the hell is this? Come on, this can't be
this
real.
This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. I apologize to everybody out there. Like I said, I haven't screened these before, so I didn't know what we were getting into. You know what? Somebody's trying to scare us. Like, this dumbass forgot to put his turn his caller ID off. I've got his number. I'm going to call him back.
No, wait, Tim, don't. Seriously, because you really don't want to antagonize someone like that.
I know, but dude, I can't let this slide. I cannot let this slide. I'm calling him back right now.
Hello? Richard Dreyfuss residence?
Richard Dreyfuss? Hey, this is Tim from Civil Gore. Did you call us and leave us some voicemail messages?
Oh, no, of course not. I'm Richard Dreyfuss. I don't leave threatening voicemails.
Aha! I didn't say they were threatening. I just said they were voicemails. So how did you know? You did leave them.
Well, you deserved it. You've done nothing but make fun of me on your show with my appearances on Jaws and What About Bob? With the Faye stuff. I don't talk like that. So go away.
Hey, look, man, don't be offended. We're always doing bad impressions of people on the show. You should be honored. Plus, that Jaws episode was one of our most downloaded ever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, doing bad impressions is a staple of our show. Although that Crypt Keeper one is pretty damn good, if I do say so myself.
Well, be that as it may, I still don't like it. Nevertheless, I don't have time to argue, so I just won't give you any more fodder. Besides, I need to finish my Christmas decorations, and I haven't put up Santa's sleigh. Oh, damn it!
Wow. That guy was I don't know, he had like a chip on his shoulder or something.
Yeah. Richard Dreyfuss is usually such a pleasant guy. You know, I have to tell you, I did expect a call from him at some point down the road. I figured it'd be through like a legal channels, like his lawyer or something. But yeah, I guess
maybe we came off lucky.
Yeah, I know, man. He just took matters in his own hands. I bet we can win him over, though. I say we just maybe like skip an episode or two without his his imitation. See if he forgets about it. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get right into our first chop. So, Brian, I know the big thing we have tonight is our gift guide, a horror fan gift guide. But first up, I just wanted to throw out a couple of things I saw in my backlog project. Didn't get to as many things this week as I wanted to. But I did catch up on the original Child's Play, 1988, which still holds up really, really well. I mean, the effects in that movie are still pretty darn fantastic with Chucky.
Now, was that in your box set? You started watching that one, or did you have the other version you watched?
I actually watched the one in the box set.
Oh, okay.
Because the set I had open. I have not even opened my Scream Factory, although I did find out something interesting. The Scream Factory version has an audio commentary with director Tom Holland that the box set does not have.
Interesting.
So I think I'm going to still hang on to the Scream Factory version just so I can have that commentary.
Yeah,
I think the other extras are pretty similar.
Yeah, sometimes you need to. I mean, I know with the double dipping sometimes it can get really expensive, but if there's a really cool feature like that on there and they don't have it on the re-release, sometimes, think about it. You've already purchased it. I mean, and you're not going to not buy the box set, so it makes sense to just keep that one.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to when we do our Chucky retrospective next summer for our next Slaycation. That's going to be really, really cool because I cannot wait to go through that box set.
Yeah, and I haven't seen some of those middle sequels, so I'm actually really excited. It's going to be pretty like a whole fresh series for me. It's in some ways. So
yeah, the other one I saw was, of course, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982, which I watch this movie probably every year or so it's always pretty fresh. But again, just one of the classics, one of my favorite. Probably, if not my top 5, certainly in my top 10.
Yeah, no, that's enough. Yeah, and I have the great set that you have, the great edition of it. So I have to definitely watch that. Now that I actually, there'll be a good lead-in actually to my the Pretty Benders. Obviously, you guys know I'm been working on that DVD project of putting that into all my old DVDs into that storage system. So I have hit a milestone. I have completed all the actual movies portion of it. Still have all my TV series and specialty DVDs to go in there, but I did finish all the movies. I think I'm up to 900 and something in terms of discs. Because remember, because obviously that's 900 and something movies, but it's because there's some movies that are 3 disc sets, 2 disc sets, and
that's not counting Blu-rays.
Yeah, no,
that's just DVDs.
This is just DVDs at this point. So, and I've actually decided. I was, do you remember those original DVD cases that no one could stand when they first came out? Those like snap cases.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
everybody hated this.
Yeah, originally I was keeping those because I kept all the sleeves for the other kind and all the inserts. However, those I was going to try and keep in a box, but there were so many of those that I realized I'm like, what am I taking them out for then? If I'm trying to save space here, so I just parted with them. I figured most of these I'm not going to be selling anyway, and if I do, what is it worth? None of these are going to be worth anything at that point. So I actually, it was hard because it's like weird to throw out a case and no, I'm not having it again, but I did throw it out. But
did you keep the sleeve?
Well, no, there are no sleeves on those. Remember it was kind of like one piece. It was all cardboard. Yep. But I did keep all the sleeves for the other ones, because I love the artwork of stuff.
Oh, I know which ones you're talking about. I hated those. They had the flimsy cardboard cover, and then it just snapped. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Yep.
Yeah, no, it felt like you were like peeling something that should never be opened. It was like it was supposed to be sealed forever, and you've encountered this artifact, and it was ridiculous. Those things, but it was kind of funny because there were actually, as I was going through, there was movies that I forgot I even owned because I had hardly ever looked at the DVDs, anymore, other than to. That rare instance where they didn't have a Blu-ray version, and I needed to grab it for the podcast, like Silent Night, Deadly Night. But remember. That was I had already pulled that out just in anticipation, so that was easier to find. So that's where I'm up to at that point. So the next step is, I do have some box sets on DVD, like my Nightmare set that I'm not going in there. I'm going to store that in its entirety because it's it's such a set that I would like to just have the way it is. And then a couple of I think like my Oliver Stone set, stuff like that, where there's just it's more effort to try and sort it.
Plus, those look good on a shelf.
Yeah,
they do. Those sets.
They do. And actually, this is another good segue we've just led ourselves into. We didn't put it down on the rundown, but I don't want to forget. Obviously, the announcement came that there is a new Friday the 13th box set on Blu-ray for those collectors that missed out on that great one. Now, it doesn't have all of them. It only has 1 through 8, but it has
which is fine because you can get the later ones.
Right,
separately.
You can get those on Blu-ray, and there was some in there. I think what was like 6 through 8 were never on Blu-ray, other than in that set. I think so. It's you get maybe even 5. Actually, I think for only the first 4 were on Blu-ray, right?
No, I've got 5 and 6.
Oh, you do have. So maybe it's just 7 and 8 were never on Blu-ray in a single version. So that was So those are, or at least they haven't been in a while if they were, but and so that's a great, and there's a ton of special features on there. I think most of them are on that other box set, but I think that whole Crystal Lakes Memories documentary is in there, that's 8 hours right there.
Now, what did you see the price as on this thing? Because when I saw the first original announcement, I went and clicked through it and it said $30 for pre-order. I was like, that can't be right.
No, yeah, no. I'm wondering if they just messed that up for the other one. Actually, I didn't see the Friday the 13th box set cost yet. If you saw something, you saw it definitely because I think I looked, but I'm gonna look it up now while we're I don't see that version with that new artwork on there. Anywhere.
That might have just been like a down payment or something for the site or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
whatever it costs, I'm getting it.
Yeah, here it is. So it says the Ultimate Collection. It's on Amazon, but right now it just says currently unavailable. Oh no, that's the one that came with the Jason mask. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That's not it. I'm looking. I don't think Amazon has it for pre-order yet, even. And it's coming out in February. That's odd for Amazon not to have it.
You know, it was kind of funny. I was looking at some horror gift guides, and they had put the now out of print collection Blu-ray box set on the gift guide for like the current retail price, which is like $575.
Oh my god!
But in the gift guide, they acted like that was the normal price, and they were like, "Well, this set is expensive, but that's because it's so good." And I'm like, "No, that set is expensive because it's freaking out of print.
Yeah,
like, nobody's going to pay that for that." It's ridiculous.
Oh my god, what was that?
I don't know. That was some random gift guide. I just thought it was funny that they thought that was like the actual retail price.
That's obviously someone that didn't do their research.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, look at this thing. There's a funny thing. Actually, while I was looking for the Friday the 13th, there was a Friday the 13th. I guess it looks like a Hot Wheels car, but it's a police car. It's the 1977 Dodge Royal Monaco, and it comes with a little Mrs. Voorhees figure. It's from a company called Greenlight Hollywood. So even though that didn't go to our gift guide, that should go there. It's $29.99 on Amazon. It's sold by Toy Bliss. It looks pretty cool, actually. Yeah, it looks like that. Remember for a while, Hot Wheels was coming out with they had the Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got those, actually.
Yeah, like that. It's what it looks like. It's from that series, but it's not. That was named something else, but it looks like it mimics that series. But this actually comes with a little mini Mrs. Voorhees figure. It's kind of funny.
That's cool.
That looks so not movie accurate as you can imagine. It's like I don't even think she has the right hair. Looks like she's got like brown hair. It actually looks like a little version of Mr. Spock with a machete. That's actually what it looks like if you look at this thing. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, look this up. It's pretty funny. It's by Greenlight, and it's Friday the 13th, 1977 Dodge Royal Monaco with Mrs. Voorhees figure. Pretty funny.
Gosh.
That's pretty funny.
That's a good segue into our gift guide, I guess.
Right, there we go.
All right, so let's kick this thing off. Okay, so I guess how we're going to do this, Brian, is we're going to alternate back and forth. We didn't have like a really strict guideline on this gift guide as far as price and thing. We just came up with stuff that we thought was cool. It just so happens that all of my gifts kind of came out in the under $50 range. I know you had some that were a little more expensive.
Yeah,
but
and Tim could tell you firsthand, I somehow inspire people to spend money.
Yeah.
As Tim came back with souvenirs and stuff from his New York trip that he probably may not have bought until I dragged him into stores. But
so anyway, we're just going to go back and forth and talk about some of these ones we came up with and why we thought they would be a good horror fan Christmas gift. So the first one on my list, if you guys know me, I'm a big board game fan. I've got a board game club because I'm a big dork. And we meet every week and play board games for 2 or 3 hours at night after work. So I'm always on the lookout for new board games, especially horror-themed board games. The one I found was very timely for this episode, considering I just watched the movie, and that is The Thing, Infection at Outpost 31. This is a 4 to 8 players board game, so make sure you have 4 people that can play. The more the merrier for this one, though, because, of course, somebody's going to be infected.
Ah, okay.
And everybody else is trying to survive while you figure out who is actually infected.
Oh, that's cool. It's kind of like a Clue almost type of a game.
Yeah. So this one sounds really, really cool. I've seen prototypes of it at some of the board game conventions. I've seen some pictures of it. I haven't actually seen it on the shelves yet. I think it's available for order now. I believe you can get it. Yeah, generally around $50-$60. But that would be a cool one if you have the number of players to play it.
Yeah, and it's funny. The first one I have on my list is a game. Also, it's called Slash Cards, and it's a horror trivia game. I have to say, I apologize. I didn't get the cost on this, but it's funny because it keeps popping up on our Facebook feed. And so every so often, I'm like seeing this thing pop up, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is perfect for the horror gift guide. So it just kind of looks like it's like a little box of trivia cards, I guess. I actually have the price now. It's $29.99. So, and it was a Kickstarter. So as you know, the Kickstarter things work really well, and we're big fans of them, even though we still have not put one of ours into effect yet. But yeah. So, and actually, it looks like it's a really cool horror trivia game. So that might be a fun thing, especially for, you get a bunch of friends over. I don't know any of the details. Like Tim was much better at getting the details, but supposedly it has 1,375 questions in the initial one, and then I guess you can get special versions on Amazon that have special features and stuff. But yeah, so that's definitely something to check out if you love horror trivia. And no, we have not gotten any of our trivia questions from there. But
no, you know what? That would be a cool bonus episode if one of us gets a copy of that, just to kind of play around to that or something.
Right. You know what? I think I might have put it on my Amazon wish list. If not, I'm going to check and put it on after the show. So that might be a good idea. Yeah, that's right. And we can try and stump each other. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that would be a cool one. The next one I have up is something I've talked about before. Well, I've actually talked about a companion album. I've talked about the John Carpenter Lost Themes albums that are out there, where he basically did soundtracks for movies that don't exist. And they're basically just John Carpenter compositions that are really, really good. Well, he also came out with an anthology set, which is his actual movie themes from 1978 to 1998. So if you're not one of those that has to pick up every, album of every movie individually, you just want a nice overview of his work, this is a great set. It's available on CD, but it's also available on vinyl if you have a record player, which I put on my wish list this year because there's so many cool horror soundtracks that are coming out on vinyl.
Oh, cool.
It just seemed like a really cool thing to have, just to be able to collect some of these with the cool artwork and everything. So, so I would recommend that. Whether it's CD or vinyl, I think it's around the $25 range.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they and you could usually find those things at Target. They have those what is it, the Crossley 5-in-1 things.
Yeah, and I don't want anything crazy. I just want something that just has speakers in it and maybe Bluetooth out. And I'm not trying to hook it up to my entertainment center. I just want something I can just sit on the shelf somewhere and have a reason to collect horror movie on vinyl, basically.
Well, no, because it'll make maybe if you want to have, you and Olivia get a nice romantic night, you say, allow me to play one of my albums, like you did in the 70s when, they didn't have things. They only had 8 tracks and albums and stuff like that.
Although, have you ever gone to somebody's house that has a turntable hooked up to a really good sound system?
It sounds great.
It's incredible. I mean, it is incredible sounding. You forget nowadays how good records sounded.
It does, man. I always tell that story about the warm feeling a record has like that, and that they sound really good because we're so used to now the everyone it's so studio produced, and they make it so because they know everyone's gonna crank up their treble, so they actually they kind of remaster it that way so it's acceptable, and
it's all compressed because you're streaming it, so every bit of it's compressed. People aren't used to hearing non-compressed music anymore.
I know we need to bring back that'd be a good horror film, just like the Record Slayer, we'll call it, where it's a guy, he wants to bring back the thing, so he just walks around slicing people's necks with his record discs. That's a Kickstarter, by the way.
Records are enjoying a big resurrection. The record sales are through the roof. That's one of the highest growing markets for music because CDs are on the decline, obviously. But people are going back. Collectors are going back and buying vinyl now. So.
Yeah, I still have a box full of some old albums, mostly soundtracks actually too. I have a lot of Kiss ones still back in the day, but I also have a lot of cool soundtracks that I get. I love looking at when I go find one of those stores that have those vintage record sections. First thing I do, boom, right to the soundtrack section. 'Cause you never know what kind of cool soundtracks you're gonna find. And as you know, like, wasn't it like The Exorcist released on? It was Richard Branson, right? He came out decided to release the Exorcist score on record.
There's so many good horror scores on vinyl now.
Yeah, I mean, that was like, when they said that was one of the most like important like things in like soundtracks, that he thought, to release that, because who would think like a horror movie soundtrack would be released, But yeah, so my next one, actually, this is kind of more of a kind of a little generic-y thing, but obviously, you listen to Tim and I in the show, and you can't go wrong if we were to get especially if we didn't have it, a nice horror box set. And I put some of the ones we mentioned last week, like the Amicus box set, or as we mentioned earlier, the Chucky box set. I still never got around to getting it, the Psycho box set on Blu-ray. And those could run you anywhere from like, $22 to $30 to sometimes $70, depending on what it is. There's those Paul Naschy collections. Stuff like that. I mean, those are always great, and it makes a great gift. And it's something about it. It's like usually in a nice box, so it's nice and easy. It's like easy to wrap too.
Yeah, there you go. That's important. The next one I have up here is maybe a little bit of a stocking stuffer because it's pretty cheap. It's only $10, but it's on my wish list. And the big adult coloring book craze. Well, they make some really cool ones these days, and the one I really liked was called the Haunted Horror Pre-Code Cover Coloring Book, Volume 1. And this is basically a collection of EC comic, Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror type inspired comic book covers that you can color yourself. And I think if you really got some nice colored pencils and did a really good job coloring these, they'd be cool to frame and put on your wall or something. So that one's going to go in my stocking this year. That is the Haunted Horror Pre-Code Cover Coloring Book. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, those adult coloring books are actually a pretty cool thing. I wonder if it would be cool if they made did they make a like the iPad version? They have those on there. That'd be cool if they had that.
Yeah, now they do have Etsy. You always can find some really cool ones on Etsy. I've seen Friday the 13th ones.
Really?
Yeah, I got Amanda for her birthday. I got her a Jaws coloring book. Obviously, these are unofficial. A lot of these are unofficial, but still, it doesn't take anything to draw a picture and publish it as a coloring book. So, they're really, really cool.
Okay, and speaking of actually, this is a good one because they actually, I didn't put it on here, I realized, but it got left out because I put the next one there also, so I thought I must have put it twice. But so the Sideshow Collectibles, I don't know if you heard of that company. They make a lot of good high-end statues and figurines and stuff. They're really big on stuff of, they did a lot of Star Wars stuff, but they did some horror themed things. Right now, you can get, there's a great Freddy. There's the Hell Priestess from Hellraiser. There's a really great Count Dracula, Tim, that you go nuts over. It's not out yet, but they're taking pre-orders for it. But I think it's like upwards of like $500. It's like crazy. And then they have a Bride of Frankenstein one. So, but they come and go. They're usually limited runs on them. And a lot of times, if you order them right away in the beginning, there's an exclusive. Where if you pre-order, you get like maybe sometimes it's interchangeable hands or faces, so extra props to them. So that's always a good thing to kind of jump in there early on those. But again, that's definitely on the higher end side because I think like that Freddy one, which was the cheapest, was started at $200. So
yeah, that creature from the Black Lagoon statue you sent me a picture of was super cool. I don't know if that was a sideshow.
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't a sideshow. I'm not sure what that was. That was at the store that I'm looking to sell my collectibles at that I meant to take you when you came in, but we just didn't have the time. It's called the Land of Ooze and Oz, and it's spelled O-Z. This thing, walking in this store, it's kind of like walking into someone's basement that like hasn't been touched in years. Like other than once you pass the first register area, the desk, you're just walking through aisles of just like every toy you can remember from childhood or just seeing in a magazine. It's crazy. It's not a lot of it's in great condition. I mean, there's probably tons of dust that like you literally come out of there probably like caked in dust because it's such a cool store. You could literally get lost in there for hours, and it's not a big store. You could just like literally look at one shelf for probably 25 minutes alone.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it is crazy stuff. And that was actually in the front display case. I asked the guy, I said, "Can I take a picture of this?" He said, "Well, I'm not taking this thing out." I said, No, I wouldn't ask you to do that because I know it was. I said, "I just want to take a picture for my friend." So that's why I took that. That's why it's at that kind of awkward angle. But I love that because I never quite seen. Usually the Creature from the Black Lagoon, any kind of model or figure set, it's always that one pose where he's got the one arm up, kind of in a stagnant position. This, he was kind of like swimming, and it was big. You saw this. I don't know if you got the scope of how big it was, and and that was $800 right there. So.
Oh my gosh! Well, you know what? I've got that Bride of Frankenstein model I did. They do make a couple of really good Creature from the Black Lagoon model kits that they're plastic, but they're really highly detailed plastic. It's not like the old kits you used to get back in the 80s.
Oh, like almost like that resiny looking plastic, like that really like thick?
Well, I don't know if you know a lot about models, but like the reason they used to make a lot of like vinyl models and resin models is because you really couldn't get the detail in normal model kit plastic.
Right. Oh,
that you could in like resin and stuff. But now they've got new techniques where you can get that sort of detail in just normal plastic.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So these kits, like the Bride of Frankenstein one I did, is actually the same kind of plastic you would do a model car in.
Oh, like those. What's that company that did it? Revco or what?
Yeah, and testers and all those people. Yeah. So it uses the same kind of like glue and everything for those, and you can paint them the same way and everything. But they make some really, really cool ones, and they have a Creature from the Black Lagoon where he's actually holding the woman.
Oh, wow.
Scene, and I think they have another one where he's swimming, but those have always been high on my list. I'll have to track down the company. I'll try to throw a link in the show notes when I have a chance to look that up.
Yeah, we really should throw in as many links as we can in this, even if it's maybe not fit in the rundown. Well, maybe we'll post it on Facebook or something, a bunch of the stuff like that. Because definitely if you're on like in Long Island, that Liz Oohs and Oz place is a great place to visit. But there's some sites, as you know, we'll mention that too, that you want to like check out. Probably be a good idea to kind of set up.
Yeah, the company I'm thinking of is called Mobius.
Oh, okay.
They make some really cool horror kits. If you go out and look at them, you can find them on Amazon. Now, they're not cheap. I mean, even though these things are plastic, a lot of them run like $40-$50, but they're worth it. I mean, if you're good at painting, you're good at model building, they can make some really nice display pieces.
Right. Yeah. You know what it is? I used to not have the patience to do the second half of the model. I could always like put together the model, but then when it came to painting or decals, that was where I gave up. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I had like the biggest collection of unpainted, unstickered models ever.
See, I'm the opposite. I love the painting. I don't like the putting together part. So I'm doing a lot of the there's a board game called Imperial Assault, Star Wars Imperial Assault.
Oh, that's the things you showed me. Yeah.
So that's that's the things I texted you. So I'm actually painting all the figures for that right now. So I really enjoy miniature painting.
So we'd make a great model team. I would put them all together and then hand them off to you, and then we'd be done. See?
Well, that's actually what one of the board game guys that I play weekly with does. Every time he gets a new game that has unpainted figures, I'm like, cool, give them to me. I'll paint them for him for free. It's like, I don't care. It's just something fun for me to do.
That's a Kickstarter for the Brian and Tim's model put together service.
Yeah. Well, for my next one, I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit because it kind of ties in with yours. And you were talking about the Sideshow collectible figures, and I put on my list the NECA horror figures. I've got a couple of these. I've got the Evil Dead Ash figure. I think he's Ultimate Ash. And then I've also got the Final Chapter Jason figure, and then I've also got the Nintendo Jason figure. But these are really cool. They're not that expensive. Sometimes if you can find them when they first come out, you can get them for like $25.
Yeah, and Toys R Us usually has them, right?
Yeah, I got at least two of mine at Toys R Us. And then if you wait a little while, sometimes you might have to pay $40 for them on the high end. But they're not crazy unreasonable, and they're really, really detailed. They typically have different hands and heads and stuff you can swap out. I don't take mine out of the box, but if you wanted to, you could do that. But they are really, really cool, and they come in these cool boxes with a flip cover so that you can open it and see the figure inside the box, or you can close it, and it looks almost like kind of like a VHS tape, honestly.
That's cool.
So I highly recommend those. They've got a Chucky one that I really want. They got a ton of Evil Dead ones, a ton of Jasons.
Doesn't the Jason one play the music for like the video game one?
Yes, the Nintendo one I have does play the music when you open the lid. That's
cool.
It's really, really cool. Plays the actual theme song. So, yeah, I highly recommend those NECA figures. They're really, really cool.
Nice. Yeah, the next one I have is it's definitely probably our most ambitious one on this on the gift list. It's and I discovered this by researching to see about that Sideshow Jason. It's a life-size Jason that I saw on Etsy. And it supposedly they showed various pictures of this thing, and supposedly it's a full-size Jason, like statue of something. I don't know what it's made out of though, but it looks pretty good. I don't know if it's but I really should have tried to get some more info out of it, but it was a quick, it was just kind of the Etsy page. I didn't really go into the detail of it because I don't understand Etsy that well in terms of that. I don't know if I need to follow the person to see the whole thing or whatever it is, but anyway, it was $1,049. So that's only someone if you want to buy Tim a gift, you would spend that kind of money. Yeah. So so Tim we'll give you his he'll post his address, private message him if you're planning on getting that for him, and then we'll send it to you. So
our podcast doesn't make that kind of money yet. I was laughing about this post somebody posted on Twitter, and it was like a fake book cover, and it said how to monetize your podcast, and then in small print it said by selling your recording equipment.
That's awesome.
That's pretty much the only way to make money in this field.
Pretty much, yeah. Unless one of our 52 Kickstarters hit, we can link it back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that sounds really cool though. The next one up on my list was one I had just kind of stumbled across, and it's very timely again for this gift guide. It's $35, and it's available for pre-order now, but I think it comes out on December 8th. So actually, by the time this episode drops, it should be available. And it's a book. It's called Yuletide Terror, Christmas Horror on Film and Television. And this is a 488-page book. It looks really nice.
Wow.
It just sounds super cool, like a great little coffee table book of Christmas horror you could put out for the holidays or whatever. I just thought it sounded pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and the fact that it's coming out this year is very exciting. That it's that's something like, because usually those giant books like that, they don't come out very often, especially on a topic we like so much. Like a Christmas horror film. That's great.
There are several. I looked out on Amazon. There's several Christmas horror books out there, but this is certainly the most recent, and to me looks like one of the nicer ones that has come out on the subject. So
might have to get that. First I need a new coffee table before I get this stuff. But right now we're using the old one. That's kind of that ottoman / coffee table thing that's falling apart. But the next one, another one is a little more generic also, but you could, now this I didn't really put a price in because obviously this could range from $1 to sky's the limit, but especially if you go to those conventions like a Chiller or the one that Tim goes to out the Rock Hill show, a lot of times you'll find places that have actual props or prop replicas from horror movies. And so, some of your local collectible comic stores may have those too. So that's always a great gift idea because it's something that most of the time, your horror, the horror fan you're trying to get for may not have it because, horror collectors basically have a lot of stuff they need to collect, the DVD releases, the books, the shirts, so there's so much. So sometimes it's hard to capture everything. So a good horror prop or prop replica might be a great idea for gifts, especially if you can get one, pretty reasonably.
Yeah, I have one I picked up many, many years ago, and that was a replica of the Hellraiser cube.
Nice.
Which is super cool. It's just nice to have that out on the shelf as a conversation piece.
Yeah, and I had one. It was for it was something they must have given away at either the press screenings or opening night of Jason Goes to, not Jason Goes to Hell. Jason Friday the 13th. I was gonna say Jason Lives, but it's the other. It's Friday the 13th New Blood. Where it was like a cardboard cutout of the Jason mask, and it was on a cardboard. Unfortunately, my version, by the time just handling it over the years, even in the plastic, it kind of popped out of its thing, but it still just fits back in there, and it was pretty cool. So it was, it's stuff like that would be great. And I got that. I think the tag is literally the price tag sticker from where I got it at the show is still on the plastic wrap on it. It was $6. So something like that. Even like I know if someone got that for me, I wouldn't care about the price. I thought it'd be awesome, just a cool replica.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I have another book on my list, and this one is called Paperbacks from Hell by Grady Hendrix. And this one just, oh man, I want this book so bad. It's only $15, $20. But basically, you remember, if you grew up like I did, like hitting the used bookstores and stuff, there was all these great horror paperbacks with these crazy artwork on them and just outlandish stories. Well, this Paperbacks from Hell book basically goes through this golden age of like 80s, early 90s paperback novels, maybe even as far back as 70s, and features the cover art of some of these. Now, in recent years, especially with the advent of Kindles and ebooks and stuff, these paperbacks have become very highly collectible, especially the horror ones I've seen going for kind of crazy prices on eBay, certain ones. So, I just thought it'd be neat to just look at all the covers of these books. And he actually read these books, so he gives reviews of the actual novels that are tied to this crazy artwork. In fact, I've got one on my shelf. It's called Stitch. And I can't remember the author's name, but the artwork is so disturbing, I have to keep it hidden from the kids.
Oh my god!
Like, it's got like this dead kid with like his eyes stitched up or something.
Right.
And I have to keep. Olivia made me promise, like, I don't take that one out. Like, that one's on the shelf.
Yeah, I could see that tormenting some children.
So yeah, they were pretty crazy back then with the artwork.
Yeah, that book sounds like the biggest book there is. That Paperbacks from Hell book.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, it's on the list. It's getting bought one way or the other. Whether somebody gives it to me or I buy it myself, it's coming home.
Yeah. Tim saw that and he did that whole Wayne's World moment. Oh, it will be mine. Oh yes, it will be mine.
I'm not worthy.
And my next thing is less of an actual gift idea, but a site to get gifts. I discovered during the research. It's called houseofmysterioussecrets.com, and they have a ton of things varying in prices. I just went through a bunch of couple of the first page I was scrolling through, and I saw some different magnets from the horror movies. They had a Friday the 13th soundtrack album for part 4, which I didn't even know existed. I don't know if that was a redone one or what it is, but Tim checked it out too. There's a ton of things there. It looks like it's total variety, like stop of horror gifts and stuff from all different shapes, sizes, and costs. So that's definitely a good place to start if you're kind of stumped for an idea.
Yeah, those sites I like those little kind of sort of more independent shops online, because a lot of, you go shopping on Amazon, a lot of people have seen everything there is on Amazon. But
right.
You kind of go to these kind of indie retailers, and sometimes you could find some stuff that people have never heard of before. And so those can always be some cool, unique gifts for people.
Right, like the Civil Gore history book that that's about the history of how me and Tim's meteoric climb to success in the podcast industry. It's only available on that. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a very short book too.
It's really a pamphlet, actually.
The next one up on my list is, of course, a Shudder subscription, which to me is still the best bargain for a horror fan.
Oh yeah,
out there. Shudder is $5 a month, so it's less than half the price of Netflix. So many good movies, so much good content, and I've been with Shudder since very early on, when they were still in beta, actually, and their content has just grown by leaps and bounds. I think you can get a year's membership for like $47. So if you're willing to pay for it up front, you're even paying less than $5 a month. Incredible bargain, considering most of these movies, even if you can find them for rent, which sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
Even if you can find them for rent, you're going to pay a minimum of $4 to rent it?
Right.
So, I mean, that's on the cheap side, if not $6. So, you can get a whole month of watching as many of these as you want. Just incredible bargain. I can't say enough good things about Shudder. I know we talk about it all the time. I swear we do not get commission. It's just a great service. And if you're a horror fan and you're not a Shudder subscriber, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just missing out.
Yeah, and it's funny, they even made it easier. Like if you have an Amazon Fire Stick, I think there's a Shudder channel on there now where you can, I think if you're a member of Shudder, you link to your Amazon account, I think you could just go watch it through them like that. I'm not sure because it's funny because Julie has the Amazon Prime account, so that's what I use on there. So I haven't been able to link them, but I watch Shudder on my iPad all the time. In fact, that's why I watched Black Christmas, our featured movie today. But yeah, and it's funny because I see people review movies on there, and they're actually criticizing, like, "Wow, Shudder, come on, get with the program." And I'm like, because one movie is maybe not fit their idea of horror, and that kills me. I'm like, you're getting one of the best services out there. It's a genre-based streaming service that has content that you can't find anywhere else. How can there be a complaint about that?
Yeah, and it's not only just movies. They have some good documentaries on there. They even have some TV series. I think they have Tales from the Dark Side on there.
Yeah, there's exclusives on there. There's original stuff, I think now they started, right? I saw some stuff that was almost like, I don't know if it's original from them, but it's an original series that is debuting on there, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah, it's just, like Tim said, you can't say enough about it. I don't know how many things I've seen on there already. I mean, it brought us Merville the Clown. I mean, come on. I wouldn't seen half this stuff.
This podcast would be much harder without Shudder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, so Shudder, if you're listening, just say thanks or something. Yeah. So, yeah, the last one I have on there, it may sound like a little bit of a cop-out, but it's really not nowadays because, going to the movies now is not a cheap thing, especially because all the theaters pretty much, or at least in my area, have converted to the big reclining seats and, now tray tables that come around on there, and there's bars over. So going to the movies, you're averaging at like $15 a ticket sometimes around here. And then if it's 3D, it's, what was it, 17 or 18. So, a great idea sometimes might be get to one of those gift pack of movies. Movie tickets, gift cards, to your local theater, because it's, especially with the horror movies coming out in the theater. I mean, you're basically, you're helping one of your horror fan friends or family members get to see a horror movie without having to pay. And, a lot of those, they make them, you could be creative with them. I don't, like you maybe get the tickets and get one of those, like Target sells those popcorn tubs, and stick them in there as like a kind of a themed element, or maybe even put them together with like a cool horror magazine or book or something, but just the tickets itself, in all honesty, are a really good deal, because you could, to get tickets for two, you're looking at $30. So it's definitely not a cheap gift in any way. I mean, it may be small in stature, but big in terms of value.
Yeah, I'm never disappointed at getting movie tickets for a gift.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, especially even taking out, like you said, two people, $30, that's just to get in.
Yeah.
Now you got to buy popcorn and drinks. You're adding another $20 on top of that at least. So, yeah, you're talking about $50 to go to a movie. That's not insignificant.
No. I mean, that's like look at that. That's like that, or the Amicus box set, take your pick,
Yeah. Really. I mean, seriously, I mean, for the price you pay for one outing at the movie, you could have a nice box set that you could have forever.
Yeah.
So, those movie tickets are definitely appreciated.
Yeah, I love when I get that. Someone gives me a movie gift card, I'm in heaven. I'm like, yes.
The next one up on my list is another Etsy gift, and this one is by somebody called Nancy's Jars. And no, this is not jelly jars or anything. This is actually one of the coolest handmade things I've seen on Etsy. But the caveat is they come from the UK, so you're going to pay an arm and a leg in shipping. So I kind of added the pricing in. The gift itself is only $20, but you're going to pay another $20 in to get it shipped from the UK. But anyway, these are retro VHS lamps. So what this person does is they take old VHS tapes of horror movies or genre movies or cult movies, the original VHS tape, and they put LED lights in it and turn it into a lamp.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And they are so cool. They even have different color. You can choose which color LEDs you want inside of it. So if you want a kind of a theme, they had one of The Thing from 1982. So it was the VHS tape of The Thing, but it had the blue lights, blue and white. So it looked kind of kind of matched the cover art of the box. So these are super, super cool. I think they would be awesome on a shelf. And because they're LED, they're probably going to last forever. So, go check that out. I'll have links in the show notes to that site. And when I looked at a few months ago, I'd seen these, and they had very few in stock. Obviously, they're made on demand, but I just checked back for this gift guide, and there's a ton of them. So apparently, they've been boosting the stock in time for Christmas.
Well, I still have a box of. It's in my storage unit, but I still have a whole box of good horror VHSs. We could start our own, like, for the ones that they don't have.
Yeah, we can rip them off.
Yeah, why not, right? We'll make the U.S. version, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well, I got a couple more. I think you're at the end of your list, Brian.
Yeah,
I've got a couple more here.
Tim embarrassed me again. Beats me in the horror challenge.
Yeah.
Adds a couple extra gifts, you know.
Well, I've got a kind of a generic one. I'm going to save my best one for last. I've got a kind of a generic one, and this is just horror video games. You know, you guys have heard us probably talk too much about Friday the 13th, the game. You probably guys are tired of us talking about it, but it's such a cool game. Any horror fan would love to have that. I also had on here Outlast Trinity. Outlast is a survival horror game, and they just came out with a collection that has all the Outlast titles on it,
Nice.
which is really cool. The Evil Within 2 just recently came out. It's another horror game. Of course, you got the Resident Evil series. I had Dead by Daylight, which is kind of similar to Friday the 13th, but it has more horror icons on it. I think it's got Michael Myers.
And Freddy.
Leatherface.
Yeah. And then also there's that one. What's that one we played? The Park, which I still have to finish. Now you know with the haunted theme park, which one is really super creepy. That game. Because that's interesting. You basically just the only control you have is moving around and yelling for your son. That's basically it, and it's like I guess it like by the way you yell, it echoes and it kind of guides you through. And I know you can like ride the rides because I was on the creepy old roller coaster at one point. So,
well, here's an idea because a lot of the best horror games are indie titles that you can get on Steam for your PC. So even if you wanted to give like a Steam gift card, so that your horror fan could pick up some of those cool indie horror titles, and they're typically they're not that expensive either. But some of the best horror games I've ever played have been those little independent titles that you could get on Steam for under $20.
Wow, yeah, Steam's got some good stuff like that.
Now the final gift on my list, I ran across this thing, and I think I literally squealed like a little girl when I saw this, and I am getting this. I don't care. I put it on the wish list. So if somebody buys it for me, I'll be thrilled. But if they don't, I'm buying this. It's only $20. And I don't cook, and I'm still buying this.
That's all right. I see this. I cook very minimal. Like I do my cookies and my deviled eggs. That's really the extent of it. Other than, obviously making dinner sometimes. But yeah, so but I see what you mean. So, but I do have some of these myself. Not this one, but other pop culture
this
ones.
one. So this is a Pennywise the Dancing Clown apron. And let me pull this thing up because it's so awesome. It's not what you would think. It's not like it's not like a picture of the recent Pennywise or anything. This is done in the style of like an old circus poster. And it says, Mr. King presents Pennywise the Dancing Clown. It's got this old-fashioned looking circus clown. It says, come see it. Derry, Maine. Performances every 27 years. All summer, 1958. This is the coolest apron ever made. Probably.
Oh, wow. That is cool.
And like I said, this would start... I don't cook, but this would make me start cooking just so I could wear this. This is freaking awesome.
Olivia, I'm sure, will be very happy with that, and then she might buy you like 10 of those.
Yeah, she'll probably buy me a ton of these if they.
I'll buy you one for each day of the week.
I will. I do cook at Thanksgiving. I do cook desserts.
Yeah, you made that great pie you showed me. So I don't.
Yeah, and I grill out all summer, so you could definitely use this as a grilling apron.
You're worthy of an apron, yeah.
Yeah, see? So I'm not too manly to wear an apron.
No, I wear my Boba Fett one.
Yeah. You know you're a nerd when you have a Boba Fett name.
Yeah. There's a lot of other clues in my case.
But anyway, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that gift guide. Hopefully it gave you a few good ideas in time for Christmas or Hanukkah. And we'll try to do this every year, of course.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. Some new things. Maybe next year we'll solicit user feedbacks for like Coaster Radio does and try to get ideas from the listeners.
Right, yeah. So now you have a year warning now to start collecting. Yeah.
Okay, so it's time for our short but sweet discmemberment.
Wait, no, please, God! No, don't cut off my...
Okay, so these are the Blu-ray releases for December 12th. And the first one up, we only have 3 titles this week, which is weird. And the first one, I don't even know if I really want to count it as horror. This is a double feature by Vinegar Syndrome, and it is
our friends at Vinegar Syndrome.
Vinegar Syndrome, yeah. Seeds from 1968, double featured with a short called Vapors from 1963. Now, Seeds is about an alcoholic matriarch terrorizes her spoiled grown-up children during a family get-together where one of them flips out and begins killing all of them to get back at years of neglect and abuse.
Well, that one fits the horror genre, I think.
That one fits the horror. That one had a horror tag. This next one is not horror.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's double featured with that one, but it's called Vapors, and it's a controversial look at the lives and conflicts of a group of homosexual men set during one evening in a New York bathhouse for men.
But why is that with that? I don't understand.
I'm thinking these were like underground, really weird titles at the time or whatever, so they kind of just bundled them. And the Vapors, I believe, is a short. It's not a feature. So
right. Maybe they were just looking for an outlet to release it with something, and maybe this they felt the best like opportunity.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they're both from the 60s, so maybe that was the connection.
Yeah, that's kind of a weird one. I don't know. That's not really my cup of tea, but yeah, sounds interesting. Like if you're a fan of like underground film and like really obscure stuff, it sounds like kind of a cool release though.
Yeah, this Vinegar Syndrome has a wide variety of horror movies and stuff they release. It's interesting. I don't know, kind of look into more of them to find out what they, where are they a production company or are they just a distribution company? I want to know what they are.
Yeah, I think it's cool that films like that get to be released, though. I mean, when would you ever hear about that? Okay, so next up is my pick of the week, which slim pickings indeed.
Yeah.
But basically, Arrow has released House from 1985 and House 2, The Second Story from 1987. And these are really nice releases. They have some good special features, audio commentary, featurettes, 2K restorations. I have not seen the House movies in so long. Oh my gosh, it's been... God, I was probably in my teens when I last saw House. But so I'm kind of looking forward to revisiting these. And there was a House box set that was released a little while ago. But I'm kind of thinking I might want these two standalone titles.
Yeah, well, the third and fourth ones, weren't they like different from the...
Yeah, and I think the box set like was limited and you couldn't get like the third and the fourth. I don't know. There was something about like you had to import it from overseas to even get those.
See, that's what I remember being something like it didn't all play in your or something. Yeah, there was some kind of weird.
There was something weird about it.
Yeah.
I think I would just rather just pick up these two standalones for House 1 and 2, which I think are the best ones anyway. Obviously.
Yeah.
So but those are some pretty cool releases. Like I said, I haven't seen these movies in so long, but I'm curious to revisit them. I actually have House on DVD. I just haven't watched it in forever.
Yeah, and plus, and it's got to have one of my all-time favorite box arts and tagline. It was just that bony hand ringing the doorbell with "Ding Dong, You're Dead."
Ding Dong, You're Dead. Yeah, that was a classic.
If you don't remember that from the video stores, I mean, come on, you were not a horror fan like Tim and I. Like I remember seeing that box all the time.
The theatrical releases for December 8th, we did not have any horror titles, but I did want to mention The Shape of Water, which is the Guillermo del Toro feature, which, even though it's not strictly horror, it's more of a kind of a fantasy romance type thing. It does feature like a creature from the Black Lagoon-esque creature in it. So he does so many like weird, movies. I thought it just kind of was worth mentioning because I really want to see this movie. Yeah,
I saw this listed. I don't know. I think it was my Regal movie theater near me. They have like that magazine that's there on the way out. You can grab that has movie. And I saw that, and I saw the picture of it. I'm like, oh my god, what a Tim movie this is! I said, it looks exactly like Creature of the Black Lagoon. It's probably kind of it kind of relates to horror, probably the same way that movie Ghost Story did. Remember the one where it's like not really a horror movie, but it's about a ghost.
Yeah, this one has gotten really rave reviews too. Really, really good reviews. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I definitely want to see this one myself. Yeah.
All right, so let's get to our feature film this week. Last week we did Silent Night, Deadly Night, which was sort of a kind of a campy cult classic. Black Christmas is definitely darker in tone. This is still holds up as a really scary movie to me. This one really creeped me out.
Yeah, it is really creepy. And it's funny that you mentioned Silent Night, Deadly Night, because at one point they changed the title to this to Silent Night, Evil Night.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny, I thought. And then, like, you know, both of them, you know, obviously, you know, it's funny. I read something where they said, like, why did this one did not get the kind of controversy that Silent Night, Deadly Night did? First of all, it did get some controversy, this one, when it was released. But also, one, you know, Silent Night, Deadly Night actually used a Santa Claus as, like, the I think that's what the parents were upset about. Not so much that it was a Christmas-themed horror movie as that it was Santa Claus.
Well, also, Black Christmas did not do well in the United States. It was a big hit in Canada, which is where it was originally released, because this was one of the films Bob Clark made after he basically moved to Canada. So it hit pretty big in Canada, but when they brought it down to the U.S., they didn't market it very well. I was looking at all this in the extras. I'm no expert on Black Christmas or anything. I was just getting this from the DVD. But so when they moved it down to released it in the United States, they just didn't market it properly. And even they had an interview with Bob Clark. He was talking about how they just didn't promote it like they did in Canada. So it just never really. So maybe it just never got the notoriety because it just wasn't that big a film down here.
Yeah, but it's become such a fan favorite cult classic that, like, I think it was, who did I read? So supposedly I read this funny story. So supposedly Olivia Hussey, who stars in the film, was supposedly up for the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin, and she went. I guess she was talking to him, and he said, "Oh, I'm glad you're here. You were in one of my favorite movies of all time." And now she thought that he was going to mention the Romeo and Juliet, the famous version of Romeo and Juliet she did. And he said, no, it was Black Christmas.
Yeah.
And he watched it like 25 times or something, and some crazy thing. And I think this was Elvis's favorite Christmas movie that he watched over and over again.
Yeah, it's one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies of all time. Yeah, so very influential. And you know what? I felt kind of bad after I watched this because I was like, we always mention Halloween as like the start of the big slashers. And I knew that there were other slasher films before Halloween, obviously, that predated it. But you still always kind of point to Halloween as the start of that. Maybe it's because it had a recognizable mascot, recognizable villain, whereas this one does not. But still, Black Christmas, which predated Halloween by 4 years, is super influential and doesn't get the recognition it deserves, because this movie still holds up really, really well. Like, it really unnerved me, and I'll go into why I think that is a little bit later on. But this one is definitely very highly, highly influential movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely go seek it out. Just from a horror fan perspective, to know where Halloween came from, for Christ's sake, because there's a story, and you see it mentioned several times in the interviews on the disc, where Bob Clark was talking to John Carpenter while after he made this film, and John Carpenter asked him. He said, "Would you ever consider doing a sequel to this film?" Bob Clark said, "Well, I haven't really thought about it." And John Carpenter said, "Well, if you could make a sequel, what would you do?" And Bob Clark replied, "Well, if I could make a sequel, what I'd probably do is I'd set it the following year. Everybody's kind of moved on, and I would set it in the fall, and I would name it, and the killer comes back to stalk these poor girls again." He said, "But I would name it Halloween."
Yeah.
So
that's funny.
I mean, Bob Clark, he was such a nice guy, but so he went out of his way. He said, "I'm not taking credit for Halloween." He's like, maybe the title is all that I'll take credit for. But he said, John Carpenter was a brilliant director. He wrote, scored everything, that movie himself. He said, "I'm not trying to take any credit for Halloween," but he said, "I did think it was kind of a funny story." So that's how influential this film is. Yeah, and it's funny because here's the thing of why I think what's so good about this movie is, we've mentioned this a bunch of times, about how horror movies, especially the older ones, sometimes they don't hold the what's the word I'm looking for? They don't hold up as well in terms of how they're outdated. This one has some just glaring things where you're like, it's just so, it dates the movie so back to the time where kids today will not understand what the heck they are talking about. Yet it doesn't detract from the movie at all. In fact, to me, it adds a charm. And one of the specifics I'm going to give you is the one that the scene, it was cracking me up. The whole scene where they're trying to trace the call, where it literally involves
It's like nowadays you'd see a kid that's like, well, why don't they just look at the caller ID, kind of thing. Well, there was no caller ID back then, okay? It was like it would involve this phone repairman coming to hook up the phone line so it also rings in the police station, number one, and two, it rings where the guy is. And now when this rings, this guy's got to literally run through this maze of, looks like something out of the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, this endless aisleways of phone connections, and he's got to try and match the right one. And they repeat the scene like 3 times when she's trying to track it, and you see this guy running through, and he's like, damn, and he doesn't get it in time.
I missed it.
Yeah, and it was cracking me up, but it's still it added tension to the movie where, me who know, obviously I was, I know that time period when tracing a call was extremely difficult, and it was always that trope of you got to keep them on the line, on the line, kind of thing. But I mean, I never knew this backstory to this, that they were, I didn't know the time period where this guy literally had to run through aisleways to try and find the exact phone connection, which to me was hysterical. So. It's like, but so something like that, it's so glaring of a kid today watching this would be like, what is this, ridiculous? But yet, to me, it adds charm. It doesn't take away from this film one bit because it fits to me. So it's still like, that's what's so good about this movie, is like, it's so well done just everywhere around it that something like that, which could normally, like, if the movie was bad, this thing would stand out and just finish it off, like put the final nail in the coffin, so to speak. But this it enhanced it.
Yeah, well, Bob Clark's such a fantastic director. Obviously, you guys know he was responsible for Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. This movie, he did Porky's. He did A Christmas Story, which is literally one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, period. Same here, yeah.
Period. And it's kind of weird because he Black Christmas was the last like true horror film he ever did. He got started in horror, but he didn't want to be a horror director. And you look at this guy, you watch the interviews. Sadly, he died in 2007 in a car crash.
Yeah, that was
along with his son, which is just terrible because he was such a nice guy, and everybody just raved about how great a guy he was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it comes across in his interview, like you could just tell he's just this warm, friendly, super nice guy, and he's making like literally one of the scariest horror movies that I've ever seen, like in terms of just creep factor and stuff. You wonder how this came out of this guy's mind, but yeah, he's such a great director that he elevates the material, which kind of leads into what the plot line is about. If you have not seen this movie, it's a very simple plot.
Yeah. Basically,
you have these girls that are in a sorority house. It's around Christmas time.
They like alcohol.
Yeah, they like alcohol. Margot Kidder is fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think she's in a scene without a drink.
No, she's not, and she apparently was drinking on set too, so that was all realistic. To get in character, of course.
Yeah, of course.
They had interviews with Margot Kidder, and she's still just the same person. Like, she's just a hoot. Just a complete riot. But anyway, so you have Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, Keira D'Elia, which I love saying is that Keira D'Elia. So these girls are in the sorority house, and they start getting these prank phone calls. Sort of like the one Richard Dreyfuss called us about, actually.
Oh yeah, it was. Now that you say that,
coincidental.
Yeah, it's very similar, actually.
But anyway, so they start getting these weird, crazy, vulgar phone calls, which they kind of dismiss as a prank. And literally within the first 15 minutes, one of them gets offed
oh my god, yeah,
horrific way, and her body is returned to over and over in this film. It's one of the iconic scenes. You see it on the poster art. The girl wrapped in plastic, suffocated.
She's dead. Wrapped in plastic.
But anyway, so these girls start getting basically picked off one by one in the sorority house by this weird evil killer. We oddly enough, for a film like this, we never know who he is.
Right? Yeah,
the mystery's never solved.
It isn't, and it's one of those things. There's really you don't find out a motive. You don't find out what's the impetus, for him to start this at all. So there's no, which makes it, which I think adds to the creep factor. As Tim and I have gone, I don't know how many times we've said this. The less you know, the scarier it is, because when you don't know any kind of motive or any reason, you don't even have a prayer to try and stop them You know, because at least if you know if there's a reason why, like, oh, you know, I've scorned you back, and maybe a really true heartfelt apology could stop him in his tracks. I doubt it, but you never know. This, they don't know who it is. They don't know where it's coming from, what the reason is. They don't even know that it's a real thing. I mean, at one point they think it's the boyfriend. One time they think it's someone else. There's no, you know, it's like there's never a reason for them to like even hone in on anybody. And it's you know, there's a lot of, obviously they throw a lot of red herrings at you there, but like any true good horror movie will do. But it's just, yeah, and it's kind of like, it's unnerving that there's a strange flow to this film. Like, you know, it doesn't happen all in one night. You know, things are going on, and there's that, I guess there's that other kind of unrelated murder, you know, from the girl's house. You know, there's the one in the park. I mean, so it's like you're not really sure. Is this now? Is it that one girl was just one because she was in the way, and he's just killing randomly? You don't know. There's a lot of misdirection and confusion in this.
It's not a very linear movie. If this movie were made today, which they did make a remake a few years ago, which I don't remember much about. It was okay. It was not bad. It was not bad for a remake, but it was kind of different. But yeah, me and Brian were mentioning just before the show how we were going to talk about this film, but it's not one that you can easily go kind of scene by scene because it has a weird structure to it.
Yeah,
I can imagine if this movie were made today, it'd all be self-contained in the house. They'd never leave the house. You know, it'd be first murder, second murder, third murder, fourth murder, you know, resolution or whatever. Whereas this one kind of jumps out. You have a scene where the dad of the murdered girl is waiting for her and he doesn't know where she is. You have a lot of extraneous scenes where he's trying to contact the police and figure out what's going on. There's all this outside stuff that they would probably just cut out in today's movie because the attention span of the audience wouldn't hold up to go into all that. But to me, it makes this movie really cool because you kind of get to see all these non-formulaic aspects of a slasher film. Like you never see that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like when they're on the stakeout, like, and they're sitting there and just at the like, you know, they're at the park looking for it and they discover that totally unrelated murder. The thing kind of like, it's like real life is going on during this horror movie. You know, that's stuff that would actually go on. It's not just, you know, all the like you said, like not one murder, two murder, three murder. It's not like that style. It's done in a more real lifestyle, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that brings up the thing I was alluding to earlier when I figured out why this movie was so creepy to me. That's because it predates a lot of the formula tropes that we learned from horror movies with all the whole 80s franchise slashers and stuff where the girl's having sex so she's going to die and all these little quote-unquote rules of horror movies that you hear about. To me, they tend to remind you that you're watching a film.
Right.
Because you recognize them as a horror movie, especially as a horror movie fan. You recognize, that girl went by herself in the basement, so she's the next one to die, that kind of stuff. Whereas this film kind of predates a lot of those tropes, so it doesn't have them. So in that respect, it feels a lot more realistic. It feels more like a true crime type incident, which I think it was based off of, actually.
Yeah, but, I think it was. They said,
it feels more like something that could actually happen because you don't have the killer. The masked killer, you don't have that. You don't know who this person is. You never really see them except from point of view shots.
You don't even know how many there were technically because he's doing so many voices. You would almost think it's a bunch of them.
Right. So you don't know anything about the killer. So the deaths seem more random. And like we said, you know, you see the impact of this death. You see, the dad looking for his daughter. Where is she? You don't typically see that kind of stuff in a normal slasher film. You don't know who the parents are.
No, and in fact, that would be like basically a plot of a whole sequel almost. Like, okay, my daughter was dead. Now I'm coming back to search for them. Yeah. Part 2, you know. It's like they just did it as if it would play out as you would think it would if it was in real life. And you know, and it's funny because like the beginning, like, you know, with that girl the girl that dies pretty quickly in there. Well, all the people are in the house, and she's been in there the whole time, and they're looking at her as if she disappeared somewhere. You know, they don't realize she's just like in the house the whole time.
It's horrifying because I was sitting there thinking the viewer knows through this whole movie, all they could think of is that girl's upstairs wrapped in plastic in that rocking chair.
Yeah.
And all these people are down here going about their business, partying, laughing, carrying on, and they don't realize this whole time that not only the killer is in the house, but there's this dead body in the house too.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, it's so creepy.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing of the lack of the horror tropes is, I mean, obviously, it actually you could actually give this to the credit of starting some loosely based, like so much like the bad girl Margot Kidder. Obviously, she's gonna get it, but in this, they're all gonna get it. So it's not like she doesn't stand out so much in terms of like, oh, she deserves it more than the others kind of thing. She's just what she is, But like, that they base characters on the way she was in future horror films.
Oh, and you always think about it. You always have the comic relief person. Margot Kidder plays that role in this one. She's got the funniest lines in the movie.
Yeah.
And you see that copied over and over and over. But yeah, the performances are great in this one.
That cop is hilarious, by the way, that Nash.
Yeah. John Saxon's in this one?
Right, and now you actually see what a young John Saxon looks like. See, I always thought young John Saxon was basically what he was in Nightmare on Elm Street, and he never aged from that point on. But this is actually true young John Saxon.
Yeah.
And he's as good as he ever is. I could watch that guy in anything, really. He's so good in whatever he does. He's like always like the perfect... Like, it seems like it's like when he's in a role, it was like almost like they designed it for him. He fits it so well.
Yeah, so it was a great story. Well, not a great story. It's kind of a sad story that came out of the features I was watching, some of the interviews regarding John Saxon's casting. But basically, originally, there was an actor named Edmund O'Brien who was cast for John Saxon's role. And so they went to meet him at the airport to welcome him to the set, and he was actually suffering from Alzheimer's at the time, late stage. So the guy had dementia, and Bob Clark actually teared up in the interview when he was talking about this. But he said he really wanted to keep him and try to make it work. Have him memorize his lines when he was lucid and do the best performance he could. But his agent was basically, we're going to have this guy out in 10-degree weather. We can't do this. It's not feasible to put him through this. So they ended up having to make the regretful decision to let him go. And then they just called basically John Saxon and told him, can you get on a plane to Toronto tonight?
Wow. And
get up here for this role. And John Saxon said he basically got on a plane, got off the plane, and was doing his lines within like hours.
Oh my God.
So that's how quickly he was cast. But kind of interesting story. The Scream Factory edition, I decided just to go through the extras because I didn't want to go through the commentary because I had not watched the film for this podcast yet. So I was just going through some of the extras, and I swear there's probably got like 4 or 5 hours of extras on here.
I gotta buy this disc.
Oh yeah, interviews with the cast, different versions of scenes. So it's just phenomenal. It's really, really good disc.
Yeah, I mean, this is a movie that, like, you wouldn't think this kind of a, like just typical horror movie deserves this kind of treatment, but it really does based on some of the stuff. And it like has such unique performances in it. Like for some reason, it's like something about Olivia Hussey in this. It's like she's mesmerizing in it. I don't know if it's the voice she has. She has that like sultry British tone that she is in. Even when she's like overacting, you can tell apart. It's still it works. Like she's like, hello. What do you want? Like screaming into the phone. It's pretty funny. And I love it when John Saxon calls it out. He goes, you said, oh my God, what was wrong? It was like, or something in there. It was pretty funny.
I just can't explain to you, if you have not seen this movie, how really creepy it is. Partly because of the music. I was telling Brian, I was listening to the soundtrack before we started recording. And there's a version of Silent Night on here that is probably the scariest version of Silent Night you'll ever hear in your life. And I found out through the extras that they basically did their own versions of these carols and kind of mixed them their own way, which kind of gives it this haunting... it's a boys choir doing it, but they add some reverb and stuff that just makes it super creepy. And I was telling Brian I had left the DVD in the player, and that's the song that plays over the menu. Oh. And it just plays it on a loop. And it's just this... It's like this real super over and over. And I left it on. I'd gone downstairs to get a drink or something, and I'm coming back up the stairs. That's all I hear.
Oh my God!
Playing on loop. It just creeped me out. Like, this movie's super, super unsettling. It's just as a horror fan, I've definitely gotten a new appreciation for it. The last time I saw this movie was several years ago, and it was before I got into, obviously way before I got into the podcast, and before I was like a super huge horror fan. I wasn't collecting the movie, so I just kind of watched it just to watch it type thing. But man, going back and watch it, I think this is going to be one I break out every year from now on.
Yeah, I agree. I was just thinking it too. I was like, it's going to go in there with the Krampus and, Christmas Story and Ernest Saves Christmas, as we mentioned. Or it's going on with all those. But yeah, it's fun. And it's funny because there's so many like fun little characters in there. Like we didn't even mention like whatever that house mother is, who's always blaming the cat for stuff that she's doing.
She's always taking nips of her hidden alcohol flasks and stuff.
B is for booze, and then she finds there's one in the toilet. And I love when she trips and falls. She goes, "Oh, Claude, look what you made me do!" And she blames the cat for her like tripping and clumsiness. It's pretty funny. And then, you got you just got all these like different like little funny people in there. Like Olivia Hussey's boyfriend is some weirdo musician guy. I don't understand. He lives in a house and he's got to wait 7 hours for a bath or something. Would you really want to get in the tub after 6 other people to begin with or whatever? I mean, I know I'm a little OCD there, but I don't know. That's the first thing that popped into my head. It's like, you're worrying about that. Well, 1, get there early and go in first, number 1. And 2, don't take a bath after 6 other people.
Yeah, that's not to say there's no humor in this film, because there definitely is. Like, as creepy as it is and unsettling as it is, Bob Clark is too much of a humorous fellow to not have slipped some stuff in there. There's a great turtles scene that everybody talks about, where Margot Kidder's talking about turtles that can basically have sex for days on end.
Oh, and she's like and she's cracking up, and it's right after the poor like father of the girl is like trying to eat his dinner or something. Yeah, and then the whole thing she does with like the cop, where she writes, she tells her the phone number and she writes it that it's fellatio. Because FE is a new, because that was back then. Remember when the phone numbers had like words, and stuff, and like it was it was kind of, and it was like, just like the way they have fun with that guy. Like one of my favorite John Saxon's lines is, and of course this guy screws it up when it's like, I want you to tell her to put down the phone and walk out of the house. Don't mess this up, Nash, or I'm gonna kill you. And of course he can't even handle that, and he screws it up. And he starts yelling at her, but it's funny because it's like the stupidity of he does like just the funny things. It was like that he plays a bumbling cop without playing it like slapstick, and ridiculous, and like how he's like where he like says, he goes, oh yeah, the numbers they're getting prank phone calls from this house or whatever, and he goes, you realize that's the house where they're missing the girl, right? It's like,
oh, you got it all wrong. That's the calls. That's where the calls are coming to.
Yeah, like stuff like that, and then with the crazy farmer that shoots the cop with the buckshot in his ass. It's like, there's just a lot of like weird, random, humorous scenes in this that like are just it just adds to but it doesn't do it in a way that takes the creepiness out. Like there's still that underlying creepiness going on, and and the fact that you don't know how you really don't know the killer. Every sequence with him in it is so creepy because it's like every like kill is super violent and like out of
super
nowhere,
unhinged. Like he's speaking in tongues almost. Like it's crazy. Now, what in the movie it actually was multiple voices. One guy did the main voice,
right?
But even Bob Clark had his voice in there at some point. So, one thing I was going to say was I believe that this is one of those films that I can kind of understand why folks like Steve Martin and Quentin Tarantino list this as one of our favorite films. I bet you, and I haven't done this obviously yet, but I bet you this is one of those films that on repeated viewings you just catch more and more. It's that layered.
Oh yeah, easily.
I guarantee you that this is one of those movies, if you watch it every year, like you get something different out of it every time.
Well, we'll know because we plan on it now.
Yeah, we plan on it now. Now the trailer, which they have several cuts of the trailer on the disc, is incredibly creepy. Like, I don't even know how this got on TV. Like, I don't think they could even get away with this these days on TV. But the trailer for Black Christmas it starts out with that weird silent the creepy crap. But it's zooming in on the house very slowly, and it's zooming in towards that attic window where the girl's wrapped in plastic, and it zooms all the way up to the window and you could just see her corpse in there.
Oh my god!
It's so disturbing. Like, you go look up the trailer on YouTube. It's completely so unnerving. I don't even know if they could get away with that these days.
Well, I did read that there's somewhere where it played on TV and they pulled something. They pulled the movie like it never was on regular TV after like it was supposed to be on or something. And I don't know. There was a lot of stuff I was trying to read about it to look when I looked for a trivia. So. And I remember that was one of the things saying something got pulled from TV, like network television, like it was going to air, and they deemed it too scary at the last minute, so they never aired it or something. But,
yeah, I watched. It's not a very gory movie at all. Like, there's not a whole lot of gore or anything in it.
No, it's all implied. A lot of the gore is implied. Yeah,
that may be why it's so creepy, because kind of oddly enough kind of ties into this. I was watching the Hatchet commentary today as part of the backlog project, and Adam Green was talking about how Hatchet originally got an NC-17 rating because the kills in that movie are just so over the top, and he was trying to explain to the board. He was like, "Look, the kills are so over the top. This is in no way going to like disturb somebody or something." Yeah. He's like, "It's obviously comical. I mean, they're over the top to the point of being absurd.
Yeah.
This is not trying to depict realistic horror or realistic violence."
Right. He uses more blood than could possibly be in a human body on half those kills.
I mean, so his point was there's going to be people cheering for these death scenes. This isn't like scarring people. This is people like standing up and cheering. They're laughing.
Yeah. And that's what it was like when I saw it in the theater, the Victor Crowley.
Yeah. But the reason I tie that into Black Christmas is because this movie is almost the opposite. Like, it doesn't show a whole lot, and what it does show is so graphically realistic that it's disturbing. Like, it's not something you laugh at. It's actually kind of unnerving.
Yeah, that
even
that
to
girl
a seasoned
in the
horror
plastic.
fan. Yeah, that's
yeah.
I mean, I listen to too much true crime podcasts and stuff. Like, this stuff goes on in real life.
Yeah,
like the stuff in this movie. Within reason, stuff like that could conceivably happen. It's kind of disturbing. There are twisted individuals out there. So,
yeah.
But yeah, gosh, fantastic movie.
Yeah,
you have to go see this one. I think you see it on Shudder. I would pick up the Scream Factory edition Blu-ray. It's just excellent for the price.
Yeah, no, I think it's like $16.99 right now on Amazon, and for that, it's like I mean, especially if you're a Prime member, you get that shipped to you at that price. Forget it.
And if you're thorough like me and you like to listen to the commentaries and go through all the interviews and stuff, I mean, you're talking hours. You're not talking an hour and a half of entertainment. You're talking literally probably 10 to 15 hours of entertainment if you watch all the commentaries and stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, so Brian, you had a great beer pairing this week.
Yes, it's aptly named Black Christmas, and it's I'll tell you, I wish this brewery was in our country because I would visit this in a heartbeat. I was just looking at some of their cool names for beers and stuff. It's cool, but this one, it's from Weird Beard Brew Company, and they're in Trumpers Way, London. So, yeah, it's not really local for anyone. Except
well, maybe our friend Matt.
Yeah, Matt might be local to him. But and it's 4.5% alcohol, so it's not super strong. It's a cranberry Christmas stout, which to me, that just sounds great. But I'm going to read you the description of the beer itself, and this just sounds delicious. It's a festive stout with subtle roast character that plays well with fruity and slightly tart notes from the cranberry. Sriracha Ace hops, which there are plenty of in this beer, give hints of vanilla and coconut. Now, does that not sound delicious?
Yeah, that sounds really, really good.
That sounds like the perfect beer to be sitting there in front of a fire, nice warm, fire, and watch this movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a great pairing. The trivia for last week, congratulations to Cody for getting this one right again. She's on point.
Yeah, she is, and she came up with a great. She helped us with our Hanukkah Kickstarter idea. It was called the Hanukkah Horror Story Dreidel of Blood. So if we get that Kickstarter going, Cody is getting full credit on that one.
Yeah,
she's going to be a partner with that. So.
So the trivia for last week was which actor protested the film Silent Night, Deadly Night only to then star in one of the future sequels? And that, of course, was Mickey Rooney.
Yes, which all I can think of is when I do is that Dana Carvey's I'm a star in the world, bang, boom, star. You know, that's all I could think of every time I read that trivia.
That's the only way I know Mickey Rooney. Or from Pete's Dragon is the only other thing I can picture him in.
And Black Stallion. But that's it. That's his whole career summed up to me and Tim. So, yeah.
Okay, so the trivia question for this week, the Black Christmas is known for its killer POV shots.
Not the podcast, Killer POV.
Not the podcast, which is now, if you're looking for the Killer POV podcast, it's now Shockwaves.
Shockwaves, yes.
But I love the Killer POV name, though. That was such a cool name for a podcast. But this film was initially thought to be the first slasher film ever to put the audience in the killer's POV, but it wasn't. There's at least one before it, and the one that's generally credited as being the first. Which film was that gave you a POV shot from the killer's perspective? And it's another great movie. I saw it for the first time actually maybe a year or so ago.
Oh, okay.
And oh man, fantastic. You need to hunt that one down if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, so I gotta watch that one.
Yeah,
I will have to check that out.
Obviously, John Carpenter perfected this in Halloween.
Oh yeah,
the opening sequence, and then it was copied many times after that. But yeah, good show. I hope you guys enjoyed the gift guide. I'll have the show notes all linked out for you so that you can just click straight through to the items we discussed on the show today. We'll also post that on our Facebook page. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We love hearing from you. You guys give us some feedback. Leave us a review on iTunes if you could.
Oh, yeah, and we want to give a shout-out to Jeff at 91 Reasons.
Yeah, I sent Jeff a copy of The Thing. Obviously, that keeps a recurring theme tonight. But
yeah,
I sent him. He was looking for a copy of the DVD, and I happened to have an extra one lying around because I'd upgraded to the Blu-ray. And so I offered to send it to him for free since I like the show and I'm a fan of the show. And I threw one of our cards in there just because his podcast really influenced this one. I wasn't expecting any kind of promo from it or anything. I just tossed it in there to say, hey, look, this is our podcast that you basically helped inspire.
Yeah.
Because I never would have tried to do a podcast on my own without hearing 91 Reasons, and that's one man with a microphone could do it. And and he gave us a very nice shout out on his last episode, which was greatly appreciated. I did not expect that. I did not ask for that, but again, it was greatly appreciated, and I really enjoy his show. If you ever want to go check it out, it's not a horror themed podcast, but it's a podcast about life growing up in the 80s and some of his adventures, and he also does great movie reviews and stuff. A lot of humor, a lot of heart. So, definitely go check out 91 Reasons. So, guys, I guess we're going to wrap it up. We have one more show before the Christmas break. We're going to take 3 weeks off. We're going to be back in January with season 2 of Civil Gore. Hopefully, have a lot of cool things in store for you. And next week's show, of course, is going to be Krampus. We're going to close out the year with Krampus. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, because I had seen it a couple times when it first came out, and then I after I hadn't seen it in a while, and it keeps appearing on cable. But once Tim and I started Civil Gore, we knew Krampus was, since it's both one of our favorites, we knew that it was going to be a topic on the Christmas movie. So I basically held off watching it until I knew we were going to do it in the episode for it. So I kind of having a little, I've been wanting to see it because I see the little bits on cable when it's on. So I was like, I cannot wait to watch it again because it was such a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, that's good times. Okay, guys, we'll see you back here next week. Don't go in the attic and don't answer that phone.
No, unless it's Olivia Hussey.